Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We are continuing our SPL action, guys. It's the last day of week 1 here. We're still in the online phase. Land stages will be in 1 more month, but we've already seen a lot of exciting action in North America.
It's going to be EnVy versus SoaR. Both of these teams coming off of their previous split. EnVy coming off a little bit of a harsher split, facing off against the Rendozos, whereas SoaR, their match against Luminosity the last time around was harder earned.
And you can see the schedule for the day as well. After SoaR versus EnVy, Enemy going to be taking on Denial. Eager will take on the Clowns, and LG will take on Allegiance. But a quick reminder, guys, the Louisiana Flood Relief, we have a promotion going on right now. There's a full chest. You've got those 4 skins in it, and for every roll of the Independence chest between now and August 29th, we will donate $2 to the American Red Cross.
And heading into this matchup, there should be an interesting side of things between the jungler. A little bit of a newer experience, Skeeledon. He's had a lot of game time in general with the Challenger Cup and playing with a lot of competitive players, but he hasn't really been tested in the SPL. And he's going to go up against andinster, who has such an immense talent between playing since 2012. And andinster now grouped up with the boys of SoaR. I'm expecting this matchup to have a lot of fireworks.
I mean, this is, the king of the jungle, andinster, North America for 2013 and 2014, and even most of 15, he was the dominant player. Skeeledon, kind of this new blood. He's been hanging around for a while, and we've seen him kind of switching between teams the last split. He seems to have a solidified place here on EnVy, but he's going to have to step up big against SoaR.
And it's going from the jungle to the solo lane matchup. We have CycloneSpin against Baskin.
This is one of the OGs. Obviously, CycloneSpin, I think, had his stay as best player in the world there last season during that summer split, most notably with AFK, bringing out, the hunters, the assassins, the whole, god pool of Smite into the soul lane and making it work here. And then it's Baskin who kind of took that limelight away from him, specifically in the soul lane. Gets picked up by Cloud9, now on his own with SoaR, and he has been, by many, considered to be the best solo laner now.
Both these solo laners have a lot of flexibility in their god pools. Heading into Season 3, there's a lot of flexibility, whether it's the mid lane as well. We've seen a lot of hunters in that role. We haven't really seen any hunters coming in the solo lane, but knowing CycloneSpin and Baskin, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen. Like you said, this on her mid that Europe has adopted more than North America has shown kind of the variability, I think, in all the roles. And this also comes off the back of people switching roles. We saw specifically Snoopy bring out his raw mid against LG just the other day, and while it took him a little bit to get online, he did find that penta in the end.
As long as you get to the late game as a Rama, that's all you really want to, and that's the reason why he got it. Now, going into the mid lane, playing hunters, it's not normally a typical thing for mid laners to do, but it's Snoopy. And he's always been playing hunters, so you want to kind of put him in that.
It's that god pull, right? He knows how to play hunters. Not all mids can, flex into that option, but he's someone who can. SoaR here going to keep the strategy up of banning away Kiki's Aphrodite. We've now seen it banned in every single game he's participated in ever since bringing out in relegations.
It's very annoying to deal with Kiki's Aphrodite, and then he brought out the Chang'e in that one matchup, building extremely tanky, was very difficult to lock down.
And that's one of the things about EnVy. We talked a lot about CycloneSpin, but Kiki also brings a lot of flexibility to this roster, a lot of options to build team comps around. But SoaR, they already know who they're going to be building their team comp around. It's andinster and his Kuang.
Kuang just been such a big threat. Every time we've seen Kuang, even though there's not necessarily that many wins, just a threat in the damage that he provides in all the side lanes. Usually we see a Neath paired up in the mid lane with Kuang, and the threat of that alone, you have to build around it. We'll even see some supports maybe pick up the Purification as a result.
And you mentioned the Neath in the mid. I mean, it's once again back to Snoopy, right? He is this player who was long time considered one of the top hunters in the world, and now he's made this switch over to mid, and kind of those pairings work very well within this SoaR lineup. And
the pairing of Bacchus and the Hui is going to be a very aggressive one for EnVy. Both PolarBearMike and Oceans together going to try to make something happen early on.
Oceans is another one of those new blood players like Skeeledon. Obviously, it was his rookie split there last in the spring here. Now it's still his rookie season, and we've seen a lot of flash from this guy. He played with the Legions during the spring split. We saw just his tendencies to be able to take fights against the top hunters, and it's really hard to talk about the North American hunter pool right now because 1st through 8th are all very strong.
And Ocean specifically going into the breeding grounds of Allegiance, being paired up with some veterans between Incon, Lassus, and Matty Pocket back in the last split. Now going into, I would say, a more competitively driven team on the side of EnVyUs will really allow him to show his stuff.
Well, SoaR, they've rounded out their first half with Freya. We've seen Metyankey play this a lot before she even was meta, you know, or while she was away with the Golden Bow meta, I should say better. But the Magical Hunters are back. Metyankey's going to be rocking that with Jigz as Sobek. And Envy, they've actually drafted a Serqet. I mean, this might just be the pure counter to Freya.
It's also a good counter to Kuang, just being able to try to get him out of a team fight. Whether or not you kill him, you get the Kuang out of the team fight, you should be able to win the rest of it.
And if you ult him, right, you have that silent, so it's very hard for him to find the ultimate afterwards. Specifically, the Serqet, even if you purify, still going to be on top of your head and not targetable.
And on top of that, Bacchus is going to try to force the early purification out of Kuang, because if you get belly flopped before the purification comes out, you're more than likely going to die.
And Hunter Band straight away. You talked about the Neath would have been good with the Kuang. EnVyUs, no time, take it away from Snoopy. They know this Freya is going to Metyankey, and so they're still targeting out these Hunter mids that SoaR have kind of adopted into their playstyle.
This is a mistake by SoaR. They're banning out male gods away from Kiki.
You can never do that.
No,
Kiki only wins on female gods. That's why Aphrodite was banned away, obviously, in the first spot, right? That's what he's best at.
They should have banned Athena and Shanga
there. It is.
The Nuwa, yeah.
The Nuwa to the mid. And yeah, and Kiki is one of the few players who will repeatedly go back to the Nuwa despite not being meta.
It's really difficult to all in a Nuwa. With the clay golems, she'll buy a lot of time by going into the ultimate, and Hu Yi will just be waiting to protect her in the backline. Late game Hu Yi protecting Nuwa with the clay golem stun, that's not somewhere you want to be around.
And against the Kuang as well, who needs to be in that melee range. Very hard to get in there. She has that, you know, close range stun. But back to the raw mid. Snoopy, here it is. We'll see if he can get another pentakill. And in the solo lane for Baskin, it's going to be pressure. It's going to be Ravana.
As long as he doesn't fall behind in the early stages the way he did in the first game against Luminosity, then it should be a good spot paired up with Kuang. We saw what he was able to do in the late game.
And Sun Wukong, Envy saving their counter pick for CycloneSpin. Talk to me a little bit about this matchup, because Raven has few and far between counters when it comes to the laning phase.
Sure, Raven definitely wants to be a bully early on, but Sun Wukong has safer poke from a distance, shorter cooldown between his two abilities, whereas the heal from Raven takes a little bit longer than the double poke from Sun Wukong.
And we'll see if CycloneSpin can kind of hold out to that early game. Looking at the whole comps once again, we kind of have this double hunter situation. While Freya is not a hunter, she acts like one. And SoaR have really loved this style, right? Jigz and Baskin, they're going to be the front liners. And it really seems to be about these mid-game power spikes for this team.
But early game power spike from Freya right off the bat, going for a Soul Stone over the Vampiric Shroud. It's not something that we see very often. So it seems to me that Jigz wants to find those early plugs to set Metyankey up for an early kill.
And it does, you know, add that damage across the entirety of Pulse, right? It's not just the one-hit wonder that it is with other abilities. So for the whole duration of Pulse, he will have that Soulstone passive activated, assuming he's got the 5 hits beforehand.
The sustain, however, not having the last hit, getting the 10 health and the 10 mana every single last minute, that will eventually add up. And PolarBearMike with the meditation, whereas Jigz went for the shell, so that's advantage for EnVyUs.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit surprising to not see the meditation come out. I know that Raffer specifically over on Panthera loves to run the meditation on supports, and a lot of the time is just because he wants to get into poke wars, and that's what's going to be able to heal him up. So maybe that's not the style Jigz is going for. Maybe it's just to protect and make sure Metyankey has that extra little damage for the clear.
Right off the bat, we see pretty aggressive warding in the soul lane around the top right mid Harpies. Both teams very afraid of the invade.
And they should be, right? I mean, we've seen SoaR. They're willing to invade. Looking at Epsilon and against Envy specifically, they like putting the pressure on across the map, although with an Kuang probably looking more to farm, I would imagine.
Yeah, Kuang. But Robin, however, is probably one of the strongest level 1 soul laners that you could potentially invade with. Even warding around the speed buff to see the strategy that Envy went for blue speed, with the exception of going for speed blue into right Harpies.
And pressure already, you could see Envy actually electing to keep Skeeledon in the soul lane, so it will give them pressure on these fire elementals more than likely, but they will lose both mid Harpies.
That's going to be an issue, because now your Nuwa, unless she's able to steal 1 or 2 of them.
She's going to try.
She's going to try, but if she doesn't get them, she won't hit level 5 before Snoopy.
I mean, it's going to be close here. I mean, she has to time it perfectly and just waiting. And look at this. Even SoaR knows they're a little bit scared as Skeeledon actually loops around. And the rotation from PolarBearMike as well going to help secure Envy a very slight but still a very early lead.
That's why SoaR backed off. It wasn't Skeeledon. It was PolarBearMike making the rotation. And that's something that you always are not expecting a level 2 support gank.
He does have to worry. He needs to make sure that he stays healthy. And he actually just used his flop, but Jigz had, it seemed, plucked right after. You could still see 5 seconds on the cooldown, and this is more than likely going to be a farming lane, I'm assuming, unless, you know, they could set up for the kill on Freya.
PolarBearMike would be aggressive with the belly flop, and it's up to Jigz to counteract that. There's not really much potential other than that.
And they actually are going to fight. Quick fling and a little bit out of position. Ocean's got to jump back, but he does get whooped, and Metyankey, his pulse is activated, but it was a hair too late, so they're just going to reset into tower for now.
Trying to get more poke after that, you're going to absorb a lot of archer hits, and without that vampiric shot for the sustained long-term, Metyankey could fall victim of an early death. Especially with Nuwa in the mid lane, you always have to watch out for that.
I mean, that's what you have to be most careful of, too, as a Freya, is the early ganks, right? There's also a Serqet on the other side. Skeeledon going to be very dangerous if he wants to make a trip over to this left lane and kind of put the pressure onto SoaR.
Both teams not really electing to invade their Harpies, instead electing to play very casually. Both Ram and Kuang going to the back left Harpies, about to hit level 5.
And with SoaR, I mean, they want to farm out, right? They have the Kuang, they have the Freya, they have the Ram. Everything screams late game. I feel like it's going to be on to Envy, and more than likely Skeeledon to set the pace for this game, because if he just kind of holds out, I feel like SoaR's comp is just going to be better.
Yeah, Skeeledon versus andinster in the jungle, the Serqet versus the Kuang. Skeeledon needs to find some sort of snowball to not allow andinster in the position to carry.
And he's only level 4, so no 5 yet just for andinster. Skeeledon been farming actually a little bit better. You can see a couple hundred gold lead, and Skeeledon actually setting up here in the mid, but I guess he's just going to be farming. Not really ready to try and pick anyone off, and he actually is going to get aggressive onto andinster here, but not a full commit.
A root off the mark in the left-hand side, though. Metyankey not level 5, going to fall. PolarBearMike with Intoxicate.
And just a clean gank, level 5 hit, and Jigz going to be in a little bit of trouble too. Ocean's holding his Ricochet. I think the double cap connected, but not enough damage online for the Hou Yi just yet. Very clean fight, right? That's what you want to do to a Freya in lane.
And as a reward, they're looking to invade the red buff. This is the perfect timing to invade off of the kill onto Freya. She's still level 4, so even if she does rotate, she won't have the Valkyrie's discretion. Nuwa uses her ultimate just for vision to allow this red buff invade to be that much safer.
And that's going to be clean. Yeah, I mean, Nuwa damage at level 1 for her ult, it's tickles, right? It's like 70 damage, so in the early game, it is intelligent to use it for that just global awareness on fire shards.
And gonna find the successful steal. Freya yet again caught in an awkward position, not having her ultimate or the purification, gonna get stunned out.
Whoop might have saved her life. Metyankey still trying to get back and kite in between minions here. Ocean's probably gonna win aggressive, and I think if he knew that there was 3 members in mid, he likely would have. Still, Met wasn't 5 there.
Diving against the whole wave without ultimate for yourself or your support makes it a little less tempting. You don't really have the clear, you just used your Ricochet.
Oh, Jigz here in a little bit of trouble, but he's gonna dash away, and Envy. So Envy are actually the aggressors here, and they've done a really good job. CycloneSpin is having trouble with Baskin over in the Soul lane, but they've already earned themselves about a 1,500 gold lead 4 minutes in. It's been quiet and slow, but I mean, it's still efficient.
This is the kind of pressure that Ravana brings in the Soul lane this early on. Now, despite that, CycloneSpin was able to hit level 8 before Baskin, doing a great job of picking up those Fire Giant elementals.
Yeah, no goal difference, and you know, we just see Baskin going over there, but we have seen CycloneSpin get the better end of it. But with Metyankey still being pressured out on this left-hand side, Envy are having their way invading SoaR and not letting them get to that, you know, early game, or excuse me, mid or late game power spike that they want to.
That's what you want to do against a Freya, not allow her to catch up. The physical hunter on Oceans, Hou Yi, should be able to outbox Metyankey now. Jigz is going to have to sit in this lane as a result.
I'd almost like to see another gank by Envy, right? Instead of just fighting the 2v2, rotate Skeeledon over to the left-hand side. Metyankey's got the wards up now just to stay protected, obviously. He can't die a second time this early on. It'll be devastating, and Ocean's going to win every single trade, at least for the next couple minutes.
Especially with red buff. Stole it earlier on. He's going to be able to pick up his own red buff, not electing to give it to Kiki. And with those boards, he's going to hit level 8 momentarily and just keep on out trading Metyankey.
And just look at how scared Metyankey is. He doesn't want to push up past that halfway mark at all. And it's not going to be a gank from Skeeledon just yet. It's actually going to be Envy just completely zoning Met from the wave.
That's what you have to do. Keep your support around the corner, just making sure that he can find the right belly flop. And then Oceans, he doesn't have to actually clear the wave. He could just last it or let the wave kill itself, and that's going to deny experience onto Metyankey.
And he can't even get it. Maybe a couple minions here, but PolarBearMike just finds a stun onto Jigz, and I mean, Envy are just playing this really safe, right? They're not trying to risk anything. They're just trying to put the Freya down as much as possible. And with a Bacchus and Hou Yi, you do want to get aggressive, right? You want to fight early and do things like this.
That's what they're going to do. They're going to stun out Jigz. The belly flop not on the mark. Great dash anticipation of Jigz, but Oceans jumping away from Metyankey. Skeeledon in the mid lane, however, going to fall to Snoopy.
Not exactly sure what happened there, but Snoopy's going to have to back off as Kiki's going to find his ult as well. Safety in the tower, and was that a 1 versus 2? No, andinster was very low too.
Andinster was low. Skeeledon used his ult ultimate, it looks like, on andinster, forcing him to back off. The purification was also used from Andy.
Probably just a little bit of a overcommitment coming out of Serqet more than anything, and you can see Skeeledon also had his purification there, so not exactly sure what happened. Probably didn't want to risk purifying the slow and still got picked off.
Both escapes were probably used aggressively to initiate onto Andy. Sacrifices his own life. Now Snoopy trying to pull out the right side Harpies, but with the rotation of PolarBearMike, this should go to Envy.
It's really Baskin, though, trying to steal away this blue buff, and I think he did so successfully. Yeah, unfortunately there for CycloneSpin losing that. He was doing a good job of holding on, but rotation and Envy just going to back off. I thought PB was going to get aggressive there for a second, but I don't think you're going to be able to kill Baskin at this point.
Not at all, but CycloneSpin, his teleport is still available, so all the poke from Baskin is going to be negated. That could be something that he could exploit further on, though, because of the poke.
Let's actually, we have an instant replay, it seems, of the kill that just happened. So we're actually going to go to a fight on the right-hand side before we see that, though, as Skeeledon trying to answer back on that blue buff.
Going to find it onto Baskin, not able to really steal it away. Baskin doing a great job controlling the pace of this solo lane, still one level ahead of Cyclone.
Well, let's see that fight in the mid one more time here real quick, since we did miss it on screen. And you can see the aggression from Skeeledon trying to hit the Deathbane and just full commit onto andinster.
A great job by andinster, turning around, getting off his third ability before actually escaping.
And yeah, just completely clean, no hesitation. We saw the purification come out from andinster, and I think Skeeledon was a little bit surprised at that burst too.
Yes, he thought that andinster was not going to turn around and find that return damage, but either way, that's how you trust your teammates. Snoopy and andinster have been playing so long together despite not being on the same team back in 2013 or 2014.
It's been a while. Snoopy's been around for a long time.
I was about to sing the song, and it's been a while.
No, please don't. Not yet. Because then I would have to sing with you, and I can't sing, and
but
it just gets nasty.
Scum Chat karaoke tonight.
Is there?
That's what I heard. Or it was last night.
Are you going to stop by?
I might.
Oh, man. Totally got the pipes, I tell you.
I'll sing some Holla Back Girl.
Skeeledon coming over to left-hand side, but right on top of a ward. Jigz making sure to keep his team safe. And PolarBearMike knew it, too, so he actually drops the counter ward. Skeeledon's not going to be able to gank there, but he now has that window of opportunity.
PolarBearMike has been making some great rotations in general, just going into the mid lane and sticking around left at the same time, knowing when he needs to put pressure onto Metyankey.
Ooh, pressure onto CycloneSpin too, as andinster was hanging around, but he's going to get taunted out. Could be in a little bit of trouble, but quickly dashes away. I think he popped his purification there.
Not able to find the belly flop. PolarBearMike having to use his meditation. He wasn't execute threshold, but didn't want to commit to the kill. The snipes are coming out, but it's not going to be a kill.
No, but it is. It was close. If Snoopy connected the first one,
which is funny. Every time you see a Ram snipe, the first one's the easiest one to hit, but sometimes you miss the first one, but always hit the second and third one.
And the first one would have been enough damage.
Yeah.
It's always brutal. You're like, how did I miss the easy one, man?
Feels bad, man.
And Snoopy doesn't really miss those, right? Which is pretty crazy. Snoopy is Ram, right? He's the embodiment of Ram at this point.
I remember that one match where with Dare to Care, he was the constant magnet from the Ram snipes.
This Serqet just like,
oh my goodness,
it was
through the wall.
Yeah, Dare to Care was running Serqet, right?
Yeah.
I remember that last year. Was that was like right when you guys got back into the SPL?
Yeah.
Oh man, brutal. Poor Dare to Care here. And poor CycloneSpin, just been having his jungle constantly invaded. Still remaining close in gold, and I mean that's got to be a testament to him to hold out against Baskin for so long.
Whenever you're behind because of such an aggressive solo laner, you have to figure out ways to come back into the laning phase. Whether your blue buff's getting invaded or not, you have to be able to pick up your own back Harpies in between every single wave so you don't fall too far behind.
And we actually see like this full rotation from EnVy2. You saw all 4 members grouped up on the right-hand side, and Ocean's just hanging around Gold Fury, making sure they can't sneak it, which is, I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to, because we've seen a multitude of teams drop just kind of hidden Gold Furies early on, and SoaR might be one of them here.
With Snoopy and Metyankey, they're going to be able to burst down the Gold Fury, as well as lurking in the water from Jigz.
Oh, it's a bait. 2-man knock up there. Jigz in a little bit of trouble, and he is going to get stunned out of the dash with the Suns raining on top of him. Dive bomb forward. The attention's turned to andinster as Skeeledon picks up a quick double.
Nice double kill coming out of the boys of EnVyUs. Now the Gold Fury is open. CycloneSpin does have teleport if he wants to make the rotation. Baskin's still on cooldown.
Andinster's coming in, but he's very low on mana. He has his ultimate, needs to be careful. No one close to execute range. And look at that, Oceans finds the mark on him, probably revealing him in stealth too. I'm assuming that's going to be rank 3. And Envy quickly here to a 2K gold lead. Great bait.
They're not done yet, though. They can still find another kill. Metyankey in a really awkward position, but not wanting to commit and overextend because of the respawn timers coming out of SoaR.
Skeeledon there, a little bit off the mark on the Deathbane. lane too. So if there's more poke there, maybe you see a commit. And Ocean still kind of wants to force something here, but just heading back to lane. The boars have spawned, and I think him and PolarBearMike might be able to steal those away, and PBM knows it too, already on top of it.
Another invade coming on the left-hand side. Poor Metyankey just not being able to get the farm that he really wants as a Freya.
I gotta say though, it's 11 minutes in, you know, 600 to 700 gold down isn't the best here, as Baskin in a little bit of trouble. His ultimate is online, but he's actually just baiting with the meditation. Andinster rotates in, and Skeeledon's gonna fall. The ult's still online. CycloneSpin has to heal up before he comes back down, and it seems like Baskin and Andy are waiting for him.
Snoopy in the air, getting connect on 1 and number 3.
No!
Gonna find CycloneSpin. Snoopy, however, gonna try to get connect onto Kiki as Andinster lands.
Absolutely brutal. Baskin comes in, cleans up, 4th kill on the board for SoaR, and Snoopy just mid-Serqet dash finds 2 shots, puts him in execute range for Andinster to finish off. That is a high-level play.
Perfect synergy out of SoaR. If you can't make anything happen in the duo, you might as well lean onto Baskin in the solo instead.
And Snoopy actually is going to get picked up by Oceans as PolarBearMike 2v1. Intoxicate's not going to be enough, and I don't see him getting out here. Purification, so Andy's going to not be slowed anymore. Baskin steals the kill, and SoaR, I mean, they were down about 2K. They're still down about 2K, but they're answering back quickly.
And this tower is about to fall once the rotation comes back from Baskin from the fountain. He's a level ahead from CycloneSpin. I'm assuming there's going to be more pressure in the solo lane because Gold Fury is still down for an additional 3 minutes, and this is what SoaR needs to do to slowly come back in.
And this is what makes SoaR so good, right? It's what makes these tenured players, Snoopy, Andinster, Baskin, and even Jigz and Metyankey, while they haven't been playing at this level for a long time, they have been playing for quite some time, and they recognize that if they can't get gold, right, if they're not going to be able to contest it, force something elsewhere, and that's just what they did.
That's
Picking up
top
what,
tier,
it was like what, 3 extra kills and almost a tier 1.
That's a top tier elite mindset that you have to have going in. If you can't make anything happen on the left, you have to go right. Andinster recognizing this Jigz paired up in the solo lane. That tower is still very low. Baskin just going into the jungle for some vision control.
4v4 here. The speed buff is going to go the way of Skeeledon, and Andinster just got his ult back up. Same with Snoopy. But I think SoaR's just going to back up. Envy doesn't really seem to want to fight right now.
Well, we see PolarBearMike finding the stun, should be able to walk out cleanly. Jigz looking for the pluck, but a little out of range. I don't think he really wants to pluck PBM here.
No, PolarBearMike, his ultimate's still down, but he may not have the exact timer on it. And they're just going to allow Baskin to push forward to get this free 500 gold for now. And this just kind of, they kind of just herded all of Envy into that mid tower so they could open up the map for Baskin.
Baskin's going to be able to control this matchup that much harder. There's no tier 1 tower to fall back on. Cyclone's going to get bullied under the tier 2. There's more presence, map control from Baskin to make these rotations.
Oh, Skeeledon going aggressive here, real aggressive, and they're actually going to find Jigz, but it's not the full burst combo, and it's in the execute range. Skeeledon trying to escape. Snoopy finds the kill. Kiki does manage to clean up Jigz, but here comes Baskin.
PolarBearMike going to take into the sky. Snoopy using his Sanctuary against the Ocean's rotation, but it's not enough. PBM very low, but Baskin, he's still here. He wants to find somebody, but he's going to get taken out.
I don't think he expected that burst from Nuwa, and a fight that looked good for SoaR quickly turned around. Oceans finds 2. Such a great play and a fast rotation coming in from Oceans too. Metyankey was nowhere to be found in that fight, and it was just kind of a numbers thing in the end.
That was the key rotation from Oceans before Metyankey. The root, perfect Sanctuary though, preventing the stun from Nuwa.
And he actually manages to juke out the Ricochet too, but he just takes too long to pop his ultimate there, thinking he had enough lifesteal maybe to get through that burst damage. And Envy right now 9-6 in kills. They answer back with the tier 1 and a 3,300 lead.
The issue is if he had Vamp Shroud, the Freya would have more than likely survived going into the sky, probably retreated under the tier 2 tower.
Just that extra 100 health.
That's all it takes. Duh.
And he's been getting pressured out anyway. Metyankey is currently 2 levels down behind Oceans, and Oceans has been just this phenomenal cleanup man this game. 4 kills to his name. He's got, what is that, 1,500. Half of Envy's lead is on Oceans right now over Metyankey.
So we see SoaR leaning on to Baskin in the solo lane, but we see EnVyUs leaning on Oceans in the duo, and at this stage, I'm looking more at Oceans than Baskin.
He's just set up so much, and yeah, you have to, because CycloneSpin has just managed to handle Baskin well enough, right? This isn't a matchup Sun Wukong's supposed to win, and Baskin's supposed to be making more of an impact, and we haven't just seen that yet. Sure, he's been able to pick up 2 kills, but most of those were in the fight on the right-hand right-hand side, right after EnVy had already gotten Gold Fury.
And knowing CycloneSpin, he wants to be able to find the opportunities to get ahead, whether it's Fire Giant Elementals, invading back Harpies, proxying between Tier 1 and Tier 2. But you can't really do this against a Ravana in the early game, especially when you have to worry about andinster that can actually lean on the soul lane quite heavily.
And yeah, and pick off Sun Wukong pretty easily too. Obviously, he has a CC immune ultimate, but if you can bait it out of CycloneSpin, it's a win. CycloneSpin actually going the Runic Shield now that we're talking about him against this Freya and now Kuang.
He wants to be able to survive in these team fights. Gold Fury has respawned, but a lot of action on the right side mid Harpies. Freya's making the rotations, but Oceans is already here.
Look at how much poke EnVy have, right? Not only CycloneSpin with the low cooldowns, but they've got Kiki with, you know, kind of with the Clay Soldiers explosion, and Oceans with the ricochets. In these small corridors, like, EnVy prefer to fight in these small areas right now.
And the way Kiki's building was very glass cannony at first, but instantly switching to that wing blade, trying to get health to survive against that execute coming from andinster.
Also, I mean, against Ravana and Ram, right, who has the slows when he enhances his autos with the astral arrows, and Freya, right? There's so many slows on the side of SoaR, it's only going to help him out, and it's going to make it hard to lock him down and find kills.
EnVyUs going to start out the Gold Fury, trying to bait SoaR in a sticky situation. PolarBearMike looking for the belly flop, but SoaR is being so patient. They're not biting.
And Cyclone's not here yet. He's just backing. Actually, he's going to steal the speed instead, which means he's got to call for the rest of his team to back off in this fight. But you see them pushing forward, and PolarBearMike's caught. Cyclone's nowhere to be found, and PolarBearMike does manage to get his Intoxicate off. He's trying to run away, but Baskin chases him down.
Skeeledon going to force out the ultimate onto andinster. It's very low. Ocean's getting sniped by Snoopy, but perfect Sanctuary.
But the problem is they're still grouped up, and Metyankey quickly finds himself on the board. 2 kills, and just CycloneSpin was not where he needed to be for that engagement. It's going to be a Gold Fury now for SoaR. EnVy have given it up. Instead, they're retreating to their mid-tier 1. And just a little bit surprising. I mean, we saw it on the map. CycloneSpin stealing speed, but EnVy still pushed up.
That could be an issue going forward into this game and the future games. PolarBearMike not on the same page with CycloneSpin. Whoever made the call towards Gold Fury, CycloneSpin neglected it, or maybe made a more aggressive call to just let SoaR be the ones to start it, and then we'll be the ones to counter-initiate.
Yeah, I think both are fine, right? If either EnVy back off and CycloneSpin steal speed, or CycloneSpin forgo speed and rotate, like both are good, but the issue was that you can't do both at the same time. You just can't. You're down in numbers.
PolarBearMike just got blown up too quickly from the damage, getting plugged into the Freya and Ram damage. There was nothing he could really do.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming the meditation was down, but even then, like, he didn't have a lot of time to react. He was chain CC'd until about, what, 15% health, and he managed to get his Intoxicate off, and that was it.
He's going to need to pick up Spirit's Robe if he wants to survive in these mid to late game team fights. One pluck, one tail flip could accumulate a lot of damage.
And it's going to have to happen pretty soon here, because Kuang, he's got his Polynomicon online. He's actually gone into Wingblade as well. A little bit worried about the slow potential on EnVyUs, but I mean, once he picks up, you know, an Obshard or a Soul Reaver, it's going to be hard for anyone to survive his burst.
Well, he's trying to survive against Skeeledon from his ultimate, as well as trying to catch up to anybody that could be running away from andinster. He's going to make the catch up, keep bursting people down with the addition of Snoopy. This is a strategy from SoaR. It's going to be andinster poking somebody out, forcing them to retreat, chasing him down with Snoopy Rama snipes.
Yeah, and just he puts them in execute range. We saw it again. I mean, it was a great Sanctuary by Oceans, but we see the combo in action. Snoopy does enough damage, puts them in the range for andinster to be able to finish them off. And with Snoopy, you just trust him to hit his shots. And as long as they do, you have the combo.
And with EnVyUs, it's the same exact story with Kiki and Skeeledon trying to set up with the perfect Clay Golem stun combination.
PolarBearMike here, gonna get flung again, and a quick ult by Jigz, not gonna get knocked up. PolarBearMike in a lot of trouble here. Shell is activated, same with Meditation, and he actually managed to survive for now. Maybe a good bait for EnVy.
And now in the backhand side, CycloneSpin makes the rotation, trying to find andinster, the ultimate from Skeeledon. It's not enough.
Oh, so unfortunate. Oceans actually on his rotation does manage to pick up the jungler here, but the problem is Kiki and Cyclone are getting forced back. Oceans, he's got to be the big player in this fight for EnVy. He's been the one carrying them. Snoopy caught by himself, managed to get up into the sky, trying to find the snipes. He doesn't have enough damage to kill unless he finds all 3, and he does!
And the Sanctuary as he lands, preventing the Tiger Sun. He's still going aggressive onto Skeeledon. CycloneSpin in a 1v2 situation. Metyankey, the late game Freya, is doing so much here.
CycloneSpin yanking out of this one. 1, and there's the cleanup. 4 dead, only Ocean survives, and Snoopy with the highlight play. 2 sets in a, like, just finds all 3 shots to kill Kiki, right? And I didn't think that was going to happen. And then just, like you said, that perfect sanctuary at the bottom.
This is going to be a point in time where teams are going to start evaluating, do we start banning Ram against Snoopy?
That used to happen. That actually happened last season. I remember it. Right after he, I think, showed up big in the summer split finals. During the beginning of the fall split, Ram was just banned for the first half.
It provides you so much delay as well. We saw the ultimate from Oceans. Instant response with Snoopy's ultimate, buying him enough time to find the kill onto Kiki, basically make Ocean's ultimate useless completely, and then negated all the damage with that Sanctuary.
I'm watching SoaR here, and I don't even feel like they're winning this with team play. I feel like they're just winning these fights off individual mechanics, right? People are just making these highlight reel, big play moves. Even andinster for that kill in the first blood kill in the mid lane on Skeeledon, right? We missed it. We saw the instant replay. Just the presence of mind to turn around, put in enough burst, and then still be able to water illusion away for Snoopy to finish off the kill. Like, it's very hard to match SoaR when it comes to gameplay mechanics.
Despite SoaR making 3 good plays in solo, they found those 3 kills around Gold Fury, and then just there at the speed buff later on, they're still tied basically with EnVyUs going at the 22-minute mark.
And Envy have controlled the Gold Fury, at least for the first one. And now, wait, was the last one stolen?
It seems that there was a split. SoaR picked up the second one.
That was it. Okay, excuse me.
Maybe Oceans, you know what it was probably? Oceans was soloing the Gold Fury before anything was going down.
I was wondering, I was like, where's Oceans? And then that's when he picked up andinster.
He has a Bloodforge as well after the executioner.
He went this last game too. He really likes this Bloodforged over any other lifesteal. And he went for these 2 power spike bridge items, right? But we'll see how useful it can be. He's on the wrong side of the map again, and a sprint popped. SoaR trying to pick up CycloneSpin here.
He didn't have his Tiger form available, going to get knocked around. He's forced to use a shell and a sprint of his own. PolarBearMike finding the stun, belly flop onto 2 in the back. Metyankey still pretty safe.
The problem is no one else was in position, and now PolarBearMike is getting chained down. Pops his meditation to keep himself alive as andinster forces out the carries on Envy on the left, and it was just the slowest death ever, but PolarBearMike falls.
The CycloneSpin going into the Sky Oceans, zoning with his ultimate, trying to jump onto the tier 2 tower. Metyankey, Valkyrie's Discretion, and the ultimate from Nuwa. Not going to be able to really get a kill here.
Very lucky there. Kiki actually found a 4-man Clay Golem stun. If that doesn't happen, I think SoaR just win the fight because CycloneSpin was very close to execute range. Overall, though, a 1 for 0. SoaR have been poked out, so they got to back up for now.
And andinster was doing a great job zoning away Skeeledon and Oceans completely from that team fight. They had to go all the way back around, and by the time they got to the team fight, there was nothing really for Oceans or Skeeledon to do. They just had to go back under their tier 2 tower and run away.
SoaR, though, they recognize they're not going to be able to bait Fire Giant right now. They're going to start up Gold Fury, but Envy don't want to give this up for free, and it's not in kill range just yet. andinster sticking to it as Baskin on zone duty. CycloneSpin still forward, and Envy took way too long to get in there.
The Ox is down for CycloneSpin. His ultimate is down as well. He's going to get executed. Ocean's finding a kill, however.
Oh, and here's Oceans, 1 versus 2. He's going to have to take this fight. He comes back down. Good Sanctuary, though, and a better route from Snoopy. He gets the double bounce. He manages to take out 1.
Kiki trying to find the kill, but a great juke from andinster. Now we see PolarBearMike with Intoxicate, but it's not enough. Kiki falls.
How does andinster live there? 1 shot, 2 shot, rooted in the 3rd shot. PolarBearMike, it's going to be all 5. 1 more hit. Baskin cleans it up, a deicide for SoaR.
Without PolarBearMike being there to stop the Gold Fury, there was no reason for Envy to really poke their head around the corner. This is late game Freya and late game Kuang. You have to respect those 2 magical gods.
And right, if they're going to fight, they need to fight when they're all grouped up on the Gold Fury. They just took a little bit too long to do so. Oceans, though, right, he's the player that Envy have to fight through right now. He's got 7 of their 12 kills. He's starting to work on crit. We're seeing that he has the damage to take out people, but we're always seeing him loop around, and while he may be able to pick up a kill, SoaR do a really good job of managing that and turning around and fighting him.
We see CycloneSpin with the rotation of a nice teleport. His ultimate is still available because it was down in that last skirmish, which is why he got executed to begin with.
And CycloneSpin just going to back off. We're not going to keep up that Fire Giant. No one else near. And SoaR, they've got a 5K gold lead, but I mean, this isn't the freest game for them.
Not at all. As long as they're doing a good job zoning, keeping the members of Skeeledon and Oceans away from the team fight the way they did 2 skirmishes ago, then SoaR can easily win the little 4v3 on the opposite end. It's going to be very dependent on andinster and Skeeledon's positioning between these junglers.
And Skeeledon hasn't really been able to get off a lot of damage. And to be fair, neither has andinster, right? But andinster still manages to find the important executes in the fight, whereas Skeeledon, you know, his full commit on the players isn't resulting in kills, unfortunately.
Just the zoning from Baskin, he's able to go into the back line, avoiding so much damage with an overhead kick, very well timed, and there's not much response that EnVyUs can really do against this late game. Look at the items from Baskin.
He's got Mantle of Discord and Meditation. You're not killing this kid.
Not at all. Pestilence as well.
And CDR with breastplate, so he's going to have those roots and this slows up more often. SoaR baiting Fire Giant once again, and we've seen this story. It's all on to PolarBearMike here. PolarBearMike gonna jump away, but quickly gets swooped, and here the call is to fight right now for SoaR.
PolarBearMike looking for the Intoxicate, gonna connect. His Bellflop's coming up soon. The Sun's trying to zone away. Metyankey gonna find the kill onto PolarBearMike.
And look at this, topside, Skeeledon has been forced out by andinster, and Skeeledon even burned his ult. Newall gonna take to the sky, just trying to get a poke-off damage. One more hit from Snoopy. I think it connected onto Oceans, and Baskin's gonna be able to find the cleanup. andinster 2v1 in the backline, but he's just distracting everyone once again as Met pushes forward, finds Skeeledon under Phoenix. andinster finds the long-range Dragon Call.
Perfect long-range snipe from andinster. Gonna be a 3-for-0 so far. CycloneSpin gonna be able to bird away, and now the rest of SoaR, they don't really want to chase CycloneSpin. They just want to be able to group up for this Fire Giant.
And I think that's what they're gonna do. andinster's gonna just poke him out for now, and straight to the FG. CycloneSpin just doing mid harpies. I thought he was going to contest, but I guess he's just going to be playing it safe for now. Doesn't want to risk dying in this situation.
Without his ultimate, there's no reason for him to poke his head. The chances of him stealing it with a cudgel, very unlikely.
Ooh, Kiki. SoaR probably could have went aggressive on there. Kiki didn't have any ultimate. He did have both his relics, though, and they're going to play it safe and take this tier 2.
And great job zoning by andinster yet again in the backline. We talked about the positioning between these two junglers. andinster looping around the backside of that tier 2 tower. Snoopy finding those snipes to get Oceans low enough.
And then once again, right, Skeeledon just... andinster zoned out Skeeledon, right? He just took the 1v1 fight. Skeeledon burns, well, yeah, but it was first Skeeledon on the beginning of that fight. It was just like them 1v1ing by the back harpies, and Skeeledon just doesn't have the damage online yet. You can see he's got Deathbringer, and I think is that a Mantle of Discord as well?
Yes, for Skeeledon. He's trying to be able to find the stun, because when you're the Serqet and you're using your abilities, you're basically point-blank range anyway, and you know that there are Snoopy and Metyankey is going to be firing at you. So if you find that stun, that can give you enough time to find your second escape out.
Also very helpful against andinster, who... when you get to that 30% mark and have that stun is when he's going to be executing you. So it all works out. But SoaR right now, 22-12, done a really good job in this mid game, I think, off of just team fighting more than objective play.
And with this Fire Giant, they should be able to clean up these tier 2 towers and the gold fear that's about to respawn. But look at this Envy looking for a gank.
They want to fight. PolarBearMike finds him out and goes for the belch, but not the belly flop. Jigz doesn't want to get stunned just yet. He's pretty tanky, though.
I love the mindset, though, that Envy had. Despite the Fire Giant on SoaR, they knew that not all 5 members were grouped up quite yet from SoaR. We had somebody doing speed buff. I think Baskin was doing speed buff on his own side. So that would have been a 5-on-4 in EnVyUs' favor.
Which is, I mean, those are the fights you got to take. They're grouped up, actually, on their tier 2, and I think they want to hold it. All the relics are up from both teams there. The Purification from Met was the last one to just come, and it came up now. So this is going to be a full team fight here, and SoaR, they've got the 6K gold lead and a couple items ahead now.
And we're gonna just give up this tier 2 tower. No one really wanting to commit quite yet. They really have great vision control between the middle and left-hand side, and that's why they were holding that ground, wanting to try to catch somebody warding, but didn't find anybody. Wasn't even contesting that tier 2 on the left.
And the question is, are they going to defend Phoenixes or the tier 2? And PolarBearMike says tier 2 right now. He's on top of his own sentries, but Jigz quickly just drops that ward there. And I don't think Met's spotted out PBM yet.
No, not yet. Gonna find the stun. The whoop is not available. Doesn't want to commit with the belly flop. He would take too much damage. Ocean's instantly falling to Baskin.
That's bad. Ocean's the one who needed to survive. And now the push forward right now. Skeeledon trying to take out Baskin, but he's a little bit too tanky. PolarBearMike's got to jump away, and Baskin chases him deep into the tower right now. Met's right behind, already popped his ult, and CycloneSpin's gonna go up in the clouds.
Cyclone trying to zone as long as possible. Snoopy doing so much damage once he comes landing down. Retreat from Skeeledon, and now yet again CycloneSpin. He's gonna probably follow.
Oh, the crit. 383.
383.
Yeah, that's a tanky warrior, but the crit's online for Snoopy now, and I mean, SoaR didn't even really fully commit there. I mean, they were just able to just poke out empty one at a time, and Oceans was the first to fall, and with all that damage down, SoaR can't, or excuse me, Envy can't burst through the FG reach in.
I like the idea that PolarBearMike had going for the flank, but Ocean just got picked off too quickly, and Baskin still playing aggressive. Skeeledon going to jump in, trying to save him. Andinster taking a little bit of poke, but a nice swoop onto PBM. Jigz not looking for the pluck, though. They're just very content with grabbing these two Phoenixes, retreating to the gold, and then resetting, spending all that gold.
Yeah, they just got two towers. They got a kill on CycloneSpin. They got a kill on Oceans, and they're going to have Gold Fury as well at the 30-minute mark, so it's going to be fully worth there, and they'll be able to spend and more than likely finish off their builds.
Yeah, can we see gold in hand just to see how much SoaR is
almost
looking at?
2,000 on everyone.
That's quite a bit.
And
yeah,
it will be 2,000 with that. 2,500 for Met. He already finished his Rod of Tahuti, so he's going to be going for maybe another penetration item here.
And this is the perfect timing because Fire Giant buff just wore off after that Gold Fury. So now this is going to give enough time for SoaR to buy as many Sentry Wards as they want, control that area around Fire Giant, and then back for more in anticipation of EnVyUs finding the counters.
Yeah, Baskin with a Sentry Ward, Andy, Jigz, Met also with Sentry Ward. Snoopy's the only one who doesn't have a ward, but he hasn't backed yet.
Doesn't
and there
need to
he goes.
back. He just needs to stay in these team fights with his late game Ram.
Oh!
Look at it. Did he really pick up a Frostbound Hammer on Ram?
He picked up Frostbound. He just doesn't want to die. I'm like, because he has, so his mindset is he has the damage right now, right? With the Deathbringer Executioner, with just an immense amount of gold lead that SoaR has, right? He's doing equal damage to Oceans outside of maybe a marked target because, you know, that ability's really good. But now he has an extra 400 health and he's going to be able to slow people with his basics. Well, double slow them.
You can't slow with Frostbound on a range.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what I'm saying here.
Why doesn't he go Poison
ago.
Star if he's trying to kite?
He wants the health.
Or Fatalis if he's trying to kite.
He wants the health. It's a lot of health, man.
Oh.
And so he won't get bursted.
Sometimes we don't question geniuses.
Hey, man. Hey, man. Remember when that used to slow on ranged?
I do.
That was a long time ago.
That would be this. Imagine Rama could slow with Frostbound Hammer.
Be pretty nasty. He can already slow with his
in-hands. With Astral Arrows, yeah.
Yeah, he can already slow with his in-hands. But one Phoenix remains right now. SoaR doubling the kills of Envy, and they're going to be pushing in with their 15,000 lead that they just spent. Envy, it's got to come down to Oceans. He's been the first one to die in the last couple fights. He was 7-2, and then after the next two engagements, he was just picked off by Baskin.
Baskin's just going to keep diving the backline. That is his goal, to zone away Kiki and Oceans, the two late-game hyper carries. PolarBearMike trying to force the issue, though.
And he's going to be pushing forward. The Suns are down, but, I mean, it's just a full reset from SoaR, and now they have all their ultimates online. Snoopy takes to the sky, trying to take people into execute range. Skeeledon, one hit from death, manages to jump away just barely, and SoaR are chasing in. Two have fallen. Fire minions on the Titan, and they're going to be taking game one here.
It looks like it. Baskin being so aggressive. Skeeledon going to fall to Metyankey. They're trying to fountain dive using their sanctuaries. Kiki finding a double.
Hey, man. Kiki's got to pad the stats there. He finished even, 3-3. Ocean 7-5, but I mean, SoaR just as a unit was just a little bit better there, and their team fights were phenomenal.
They started off a little slow, but once they started getting the ball rolling, they found those kills in the solo lane after giving up Gold Fury earlier on, leaning on Baskin quite heavily on the Wukong versus Ravana matchup, and then on top of that, the fact that EnVyUs contested that Gold Fury was where they could not make a comeback from that point in time.
Yeah, and it was also CycloneSpin was doing speed buff, right? We actually see this a lot from CycloneSpin where he does his own thing, and I don't know if it's he doesn't call it or he calls it and the team doesn't respect it or whatever, but just kind of that miscommunication really was the end of Envy there because they were still in the lead at that point, if I recall correctly.
Sometimes it's a solo laner's dream to like, okay, there's a speed buff here, there's a blue buff here, I'm going to steal this. But the Gold Fury is more important. You have to be making the rotations for this team fight. But on the flip side, you still have to respect the fact that he is doing the speed buff, so you have to back off on the side of PolarBearMike.
Doesn't work.